I'm welcoming you on our Open Doors Week, and today we are having a webinar in master's programs in IT. And my name is Anna, and today I have with me Eero, who is going to introduce computer science, and I'm having Dietmar, who is going to talk about software engineering. So our programs is going to be as follows. So at first we are going to have presentations of these two programs, and they will last approximately 15 minutes each. So at 3:30, something like that, we are going to open a question-answer session, and then we will try to cover all of your questions that you ask. I would kindly ask you to leave your questions under Q&A session, because it's going to be easier for us to take them over, not in the chat. So please leave your questions during the presentations and during the whole time, and then I will read it out loud and we will answer them. So right now I'm going to give a floor to Eero. Please, Eero, you can share your screen.
So does my screen sharing work properly?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, good. So hello, everybody. My name is Eero Vainiku, and I'm Program Manager of Masters of Computer Science at the Institute of Computer Science, University of Tartu. And I'm going to give a short presentation about our master's program. I will be talking about modules that we have, the subjects. Then I will stop a little bit on our working principles and how you actually collect points and what is it like to get marks. And then I will be talking about scholarships, tuition waivers, tuition fees. And in the end, I can answer your questions then. So this International Masters of Computer Science here at University of Tartu is running approximately for 7 years already. And I will first go through a little bit about the curriculum itself and give a short overview about it. So it has actually 7 modules: base module, which has 24 ECTS. Then there are 3 specialization modules. You can choose one of those. Usually student chooses it from the very beginning, but by the end of October of first semester, you have to make a choice in the system here. And the choice is between 3 different possibilities, whether it's theoretical informatics, distributed systems, or artificial intelligence. I will be talking about all those soon. Then there is a module of master seminar, which is 6 ECTS, where you will be studying some subject of your choice, and you do it over 2 semesters usually, because it's 3 credit course, and different chairs at our institute have their own seminars. There is restriction that just 3 ECTS of master seminar should be conforming to your specialization module. Then there is electives module, which is 12 ECTS, optional courses 6 ECTS, practice module 18, and in the end master's thesis. But now I will be going through a little bit more closely all those different options here. So base module consists of 4 courses here. 3 of them run on the first semester: algorithmics, design and analysis of algorithms, and machine learning. These are suggested to take on the very first semester, although in principle, you can do it on third semester as well, but whenever you want to take, for example, semester outside of Tartu and some partner university, then you have to have done all those base module courses. And the fourth base module course, Distributed Systems, is running on second semester or spring semester. And all these base module courses, they are compulsory. You cannot actually do any changes here. Then about the specialization modules. Usually we have a few courses more than needed. You can actually choose 4 courses out of 5 in theoretical informatics case. And all these courses are here and listed: Mathematical Foundations for Computer Science, Cryptology 1, Quantum Algorithms, Introduction to Coding Theory, and Quantum Cryptography. Then the second option is Specialization Module of Distributed Systems. Here, one of the main courses is Parallel Computing, but there is also choice of cloud computing, intelligent transportation systems, mobile computing and Internet of Things, big data management, and enterprise system integration. So actually you have to choose then 24 credits out of 36 listed here. Now going to the third specialization module, Artificial Intelligence, you have actually 8 courses to choose from. And you can go either to the track of natural language processing, or you can go to neural networks or some applications like big data management or bioinformatics or intelligent transportation systems, for example. But you can also choose from machine translation and fuzzy logic and soft computing, for example. Then the third module is actually master seminar. There are quite a few research groups at our institute, and these seminar courses usually run by 3 credits per semester, and there are 4 different semesters for each of those courses, so that you can actually take twice the same seminar if you want. But you can also then combine, take something from one of the seminars and next semester something else. And as it was said, you need 6 credits to get here. Then practice module is 18 ECTS, and essentially there are 4 different ways how to do. The most popular one and common one is to do practice at an enterprise and take a practical training in informatics, for example, 12 credits. Then you can actually choose whether to take the rest 6 credits also the same way, or you can take, for example, practice through research as an example. But there is also possibility to do some practice through teaching or entrepreneurship practice. So there are different choices that you can then combine to find most suitable way that is most relevant for you and your goals. Then the elective module is actually all the courses at our institute on master level you can choose from. It is very common actually to choose some course from a different specialization module, for example, but there are quite a few other interesting courses that are even not listed in this curriculum. Whenever it is master's course, you can take it. And in elective module, there is also mobility window. We can say that currently, due to COVID-19 situation, it is not functional right away, but hopefully things will change soon thanks to vaccination in the world, and this mobility will be possible again. It is actually a way to go for a semester abroad to some partner university of University of Tartu. You have then to take at least 15 credits per semester abroad. It means you fill those elective module courses, for example, but you can choose also some speciality module course and get it transferred to this speciality module by program manager. Then optional courses is something really free for you to choose. You can just take some other course at our institute, or you can go to other faculties and departments. It is very common actually to take some language course, for example. But there are also courses like history of art, for example. Everything fits here that is taught at our university or our university colleges, at some other cities even. And then I would go further a little bit about studying. What are the teaching styles and grading here? We have lots of homeworks and projects typically with all of the courses that are taught on master's level here. We do not have such very traditional desktop-based labs. Everything is done on normal lecture halls. Students just take their own laptops and work there. There are a lot of group work, quite common. That's part of assignments are individual, and part of the assignments and projects are done in groups. Yeah, you should just note that one ECTS is approximately of 26 hours of work. So it depends very much on course and the individuality of students, but this is like a general guideline. All the courses have online communication, and all the information about courses, lecture material, computer class exercises, everything is published on courses website at our institute. You can already go there and look what are the courses like, and a lot of this information is actually publicly available, including lecture recordings. But all the courses also use all kinds of message boards, mailing lists, and especially with the current COVID situation, all kind of online teaching is used quite a lot. Of course, we would like to return back quickly to normal mode of teaching and studying. But for now, all courses are running in Moodle, Zoom, Panopto. They use Slack and Piazza, for example. All of our students have to use laptops. If you don't have one, you can borrow one from our institute. Then about our grading system. And each course has the different evaluation systems, but typically it's half of the grade comes from assignments or projects, and exam is typically usually 50% or less. There are two types of courses: those who give you grade and those who give you just pass or fail. And master thesis is the very end of your studies. It is 30 credits, but you can do it in 2 goes during end of third semester, you can have 10 credits already and 20 after, or you can do it all together. And it is worth looking at thesis database where all the previous theses are available for you, and you can get an understanding what does a thesis look like at our institute. Now about scholarships and tuition fees. In total, we have 55 positions this year, and out of those 55, there are 42 tuition waiver scholarships. It means for 42 students, there will be no tuition waiver. It's essentially free study place, and 31 are giving to EU students and 11 to non-EU students. And it means there will be approximately 13 places without tuition waiver. And in that case, tuition fee is 3,000 euros per semester or 120 euros per credit. But good news is that in addition to tuition waivers, there are also scholarships available for best applicants and later for best performance. For example, specialization scholarships, DORA Plus, IT Academy Scholarship, European Social Fund, Smart Specialization Stipend. For certain countries, there is also Ministry of Foreign Affairs stipends. And then there are quite a few other stipends available as well, like Cybernetica Fellowship or Industrial Master Scholarship. And even better news is for very good students who really do only A's. They will get usually 100 euros extra per month. And all those scholarship information is actually on this website at our institute, and you can look at the different rates. Now just a few words about Industrial Masters program, and it is a special program for starting from second semester, and it's a 3-semester program for 17 months actually, where half of the studies will be taking place at partner company. And it is the way to do your studies through work together with scholarship. And the scholarship is growing from semester to semester. And here is a list of some of the companies that have taken part in this program. And there is more information here available. Now about admission, it is most important is the deadline is 15th of March. You apply through dreamapply.com, and the admission score is then coming through 50% from the average grade of the previous level of study, like from the bachelor's studies, and 50% comes from motivation letter. And we have written motivation letter requirements that just state that it's maximum 6,000 characters. You should explain why you want to come and study here, and what is your specialization, what are your skills. You should very carefully look all those questions and answer those to get most of this motivation letter points. And it is very important to follow that you write it yourself, do not copy anything, because it will be checked actually for plagiarism. And worth to mention is also that if you ever have any open source software on some repositories available, it is a good idea to provide a link so that evaluators can see your projects, and this will give you again a little bit benefit towards the final grade of motivation letter. And it would be really good to write also what would be the field of your master thesis, and explaining etc., and what you want to do in the future. And next, I would just say that our institute moved just 1 year ago to a new building, to Delta Center of University of Tartu. It's very modern. Students have excellent facilities there for group work, for individual work. There are some special rooms where you can do some group projects, for example. If I were young still, and I would really consider coming to Tartu just because of the good possibilities to study and learn at Delta. And here are some contact informations, points where you can then look. And I stop here, and how we will proceed? Should we answer questions right away or later after Dietmar?
I think we will proceed now with the next presentation, and then we will cover all of the questions. So our participants is going to have some time to think about questions and to leave them for a QA session. Thank you very much, Hera, for your presentation with so many details about the program and admission process. And now I'm giving a word to Dietmar to talk about software engineering program and all the details.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much. And also thanks to Eero for his talk about the computer science program. I will talk about the Master of Software Engineering program. My name is Dietmar Pfahl, as Anna said. And I will try to not repeat everything that Eero said. I will try to point out a bit the differences between the computer science program and the software engineering program, because much of the information, the more general information about scholarships, etc., is in principle exactly the same in both programs. So let me see what I can say in new stuff. So it's of course an international curriculum. This means that all our courses in the program are taught in English. In our institute, we actually have more than computer science and software engineering programs, but two of those programs, the one in green, data science, and the conversion master's program, are taught in Estonian or partly in Estonian. And the cybersecurity curriculum, which is done together with Technical University of Tallinn, or TalTech, as it is called today, is actually administered mainly from TalTech side. The software engineering program is also a joint program together with TalTech. The difference is that to the cybersecurity program is that the software engineering program is mainly led by the University of Tartu. But some of the courses take place actually in Tallinn at TalTech. So we have, of course, in our university also a strong bachelor's program in computer science. And this bachelor program has several specializations or let's say majors. And one of them is software engineering. And in principle, the software engineering master's program is to some extent rooted in that major in the bachelor program. I'm saying that because I have already seen some questions in the question answer box. It means that we actually assume that all students that are admitted into the program have already some background in software engineering and a strong background in software development. So that's something that has to be kept in mind. So now, what do we teach in our program? Software engineering is obviously a very applied discipline. It's an engineering discipline, so to speak. And we collaborate quite much with industry, and this degree program is actually a program that is very much demanded by the local industry in Estonia. And our industry partners, they expect that our program is sort of providing to the industry full stack developers who have in-depth knowledge about all phases of software development. So that's what I'm showing you in this blue box. And it also shows that it's not only about programming, it's about requirements engineering, it's about testing, it's about different frameworks that can be used, etc. It's about certain development methodologies, agile development techniques, etc. But that is not all. We also have some elements that are more related to managerial tasks like product management. Of course, software quality standards is something that people should know about. We also have a very strong research group in business process management, where we even have recently had a spin-off company has been created, where indeed some of our students are now working. And there's a startup camp, there's an entrepreneurship project, etc. So this is a sideline, which is part of the program. And we are also trying to enhance the analytic skills of our students, and also some of the, let's say, data analytics, business data analytics courses, for example, part of the program, a business analysis course is part of the program. So that is also something that we try to convey, that our students also develop an understanding on how do you actually get a software product out, right? But the core is still the technical aspect of software engineering. Good. The program as such is organized similar to the program in computer science. There is a core module consisting of 4 courses. The main difference is to the computer science program is, of course, the courses are slightly different than the core module courses in the computer science program, but also it is split between University of Tartu and Taltech, meaning that 2 courses are taught in Tartu, 2 courses are taught in Taltech. I will explain how this logistically works in a moment. Let me first continue with the structure of the program. So then, instead of 3 specializations that the computer science program has, we have only 2. One specialty module is enterprise software development. That is designed and guided and taught from colleagues at the University of Tartu. And then there is this embedded software specialization, which is taught mostly by teachers at Taltech. And that also means that after the first semester, where we hope that our students can complete all the core module courses plus 1 additional course, that at the end of the first semester, you must make your final decision on which specialization you take, because if you opt for the embedded systems or embedded software specialization, it probably means that you should relocate to Tallinn, because most of the courses are taught on their side. So then after that, there will be, of course, 2 elective courses and 1 optional course or free choice course. That's exactly the same as in computer science. You can, for elective course, take all master level courses taught from our university to computer science or software engineering students. So you can take, for example, any of the courses in the computer science program. That can be an elective, and optional courses are, of course, completely free. You can take any course taught at our university, or if you have, in the 3rd semester might go to an exchange abroad, and you can, of course, also take courses from the other universities. We also have a practice module, which mainly is located in the summer between the second and third semester and including the third semester. That depends a bit how you organize yourself. And that simply means that you do an internship in a company either in Estonia or abroad. And you get credits for it. You have to submit a plan, what you're going to do. The company has also to sign this plan. And then at the end, when you complete your internship, you have to report what you have done, and then you get your credit points. And at the end, there is the master thesis, which usually should start already in the third semester and mainly will be finished in the fourth and the last semester. And accompanying to that will be 2-3 credit point master seminars. So now what are the courses in the core module and in the 2 specialization modules? In the core module, by the way, what is blue in color will be taught by teachers from University of Tartu. What is red in color will be taught by teachers of Taltech in Tallinn. And the core module consists on 2 courses in Tartu. One is Agile Software Development, where you get an in-depth hands-on experience on how to develop software in an agile way. And a systems modeling course where you have to, well, basically learn something about UML, how to model your system. And depending on the teacher who's giving the course, it might simply mean that you also have to, perhaps you can learn something about model checking or about code generation, etc. So that's systems modeling. Then there are 2 courses taught by Technical University Tallinn, Taltech. One is called Advanced Programming, and the other one is called Software Quality and Standards. And in the 2 specializations, let me start with the one taught by Taltech, Embedded Systems. That's all real-time software, embedded systems, system programming, etc. So if you want to do really something that is about software development, software that's close to hardware and embedded in hardware, and you basically are more interested in systems development, then that is a specialization for you. At Tartu, we teach the enterprise systems specialization, where we have one mandatory course that's called Enterprise Systems Integration. That's about enterprise architecture and how to develop a full-fledged enterprise system. And then you can pick 2 courses from a set of 3. That is like here the more product related courses like software product management, business process management, requirements engineering. And you can pick 1 course from a set of 3, which is more like data science courses, let's call it. And so that gives you certain flexibility. And if you want to theoretically pick all these 7 courses, and then basically 4 courses would count in the specialization module, 2 would count in the elective module, and 1 would count in the free choice, as a free choice course. Okay, I've never seen any student doing that, but it's in principle, it would be possible. Good. So now comes this point about the logistics. So since last year spring, of course, we do not really have in-class teaching because of COVID-19. So all the courses are taught online, and also currently that's the case. So what you see on the slide, this nice school bus here, does not really operate at the moment. But in case this situation normalizes, then from the next fall semester on, we might switch back to the regular in-class teaching mode. And that means that you, if you remember that in the core module, 2 courses are taught in Tallinn and 2 courses are taught in Taltech. And then you have also a 3rd course where you decide whether it's in Tallinn or Taltech. So in order to make this possible for you to physically be in the class, we have organized the curriculum in such a way that on certain days, courses are taught in Tallinn, and on other days they are taught in Tartu. And we have a bus hired, which is of course for free of cost for you, which leaves in the morning from Tartu to Tallinn and comes back in the evening. And we have it done that way because most of our students are actually starting out in Tartu and are located in Tartu. If you happen to be located in the first semester in Tallinn, then of course there's also other regular transportation means, and you will be refunded if you have to buy a bus ticket or a train ticket. So there's no cost, but there's some time to be invested for this traveling back and forth. And this situation relaxes, of course, usually after the first semester, because then you make up your mind which specialization you take, and you will be either mainly in Tartu or either mainly in Tallinn anyways. And then this traveling back and forth is no longer necessary. So then I think that is already the most important differences to the computer science program. So now I will just finish up with some general comments, also some comments about how the admissions process works. About our program, you see some numbers here. These numbers, like 147 students, 144 students, etc., is always the total number of students in the program. That means first and second year students. The program, as you know, is for 2 years, 4 semesters. And we had a little dip last year. That was because of COVID, because quite a few of our international students simply couldn't make it to Estonia. And of course, we hope that in this year's admissions process and starting in September, that the situation is back to normal and we get back to the normal numbers where we have around 150 students in the program. Roughly speaking, international and Estonian students are 50-50. Last time, the Estonian students were a little bit stronger in number because of the problems with international travel. Our teaching staff is quite international. We have in the institute several chairs, and the chairs of software engineering is, I think it's 90% international staff. So people from different backgrounds and have work experience in different countries, different universities. So that's hopefully interesting to you. And we also have our research group is also quite strong research-wise, but that's of course also true for those research groups that mainly teach in the computer science program. Our graduates have absolutely no problem to find a job, a good job, a well-paid job, an interesting job. I mean, this slide is just showing many of the companies that are in Estonia, located in Estonia, and have offices in Estonia. Some of them have offices mainly in other countries in Europe, but I've never heard that any of our students had a problem finding a good job if you graduate. And some actually find a good job even before they graduate. That's not really what we want, but even that is possible. For the admission to the program, you know that you have to write this application. I mean, Eero has already explained a bit about how that works, where you have to submit your applications, what you have to submit. In the software engineering program, we make a relatively clear statement in the description what requirements you have to have, that you must show that you had in your bachelor's program at least 24 ECTS of courses covered, successfully completed, which are closely related to computer science, and ideally even maybe you have taken a basic, like a bachelor level software engineering course. What is a must be is that you must know very well one of the major object-oriented programming languages. We mainly use Java here, but we also use other programming languages. So if you are strong in C++, for example, it shouldn't be a problem for you. We anyways expect from our students that they are able to learn a new programming language on their own as a master student. Of course, you should have taken basic courses in algorithms, databases. If you want to go for the embedded system specialization, you obviously should have taken course in operation systems and stuff like that. I believe that most of the international students from most of the countries have also to provide this English language test. But all these details, I really ask you to consult the admissions office webpage because they list all the details. So then you have to write a motivation letter, and that is quite important, as Eero already pointed out. The contents, I think, for our software engineering motivation letter and the one for computer science are in principle the same. There's not much difference. We really want to know what you have done, what you know. If you have industry experience, please write it down. If you can show us code that you have developed, that's even better. We actually look up any links that you provide in the admission letter, in the motivation letter, to give a proof on, it gives us an impression on what kind of systems you have developed and how do you program. If you participated in hackathons, etc., mention it in the motivation letter. That's all good. But then in the end, it's only 50%, the other 50% of your, that influence the ranking that we make among all the applicants is of course your bachelor grades. Okay, so there's a link which gives you more information about the details, what we want, so read it carefully. So now we have quite many applications, so the program is, to get admitted into the program is really competitive. We had once more than 350 applications, then the university, so it's actually, I have seen this question from one of you in the question answer box. It's not our decision, this admissions fee, or this application fee, sorry. It was a university decision, and so there's nothing we can do about it. Then this made a little drop in the applications, and but since then, as you can see here, the applications are growing, and we expect again more than 300 applications in the next round. Since there are only 55 seats to be filled, that means that 1 out of 6 applicants on average gets the position or gets a seat in the program. So you see it's quite competitive. The intake, these are the intake numbers, and it went down a little bit in particular last year, mainly due to the COVID, let's say, problems with traveling and getting the paperwork done for the international students, and even simply getting a flight to Estonia. I really hope that this will not happen again this year, but of course we can't see what the future will bring. But at the moment, hopefully the signs are signaling that we get slowly back to normal. Of the 55 positions, there will be in total 42 tuition waivers in 2021. So that means you would not have to pay, but the university decided last year that this will be split between international, that means non-European Union students and European Union students. And for non-European Union students, there are only 11 tuition waivers reserved. And unfortunately, it can also not be shifted if one of the EU student seat or waiver is not taken by a student, because we can't, for whatever reason, fill the position, which normally doesn't happen. But if it would happen, we couldn't move this tuition waiver to international student. It's just a university regulation. Geographical distribution of the actual intake. So this is not the geographical distribution of the applications, but of what is actually the intake. And you can see the blue part, this is 2019, this is 2020. In 2019, it was 1/3 was Estonian, and here it's more than, last year it was more than half of the students Estonian, and the rest is, quite a few come from Ukraine, Russia, Azerbaijan, etc. But we have also students from Africa and Asia. So there is a chance, and of course we welcome good students from all countries. And if you make it through the admissions and the filtering procedure, because as I said, we have a committee that will read all your motivation letters, that will look at your grades and at your transcripts, and we rank all of you. And if you make it to the top in that list, then of course you will be invited to take the position. We have also, I think, a relatively good rate in graduations. Last year, for example, we had 45 graduates, and that is like 75% of the students actually complete the program. Those who don't complete the program usually find a very good job early on and then decide simply that they can't combine full-time work with studying. That is in a way okay, as long as you're successful, that's good. But of course, from the university point of view, we prefer to have you graduate. And by the way, if you are one of those students who are actually interested in doing research, then we welcome this also very much. We have also a PhD program, and our top students, of course, have also the opportunity to continue in academia if you want to do that. Okay, you know the deadline is coming up soon. It's less than 1 month, maybe 3 weeks are left. You have, if you're an international student, you apply through DreamApply. And I hope all of you can find the proper place where you submit your application. In any case, I highly recommend that you look at our Institute of Computer Science webpage. There's both an admissions tab and a studying tab. I also recommend that you have a look at that. For software engineering, for example, you will see our curriculum in a bit more detail, and you will probably find quite much other interesting information. If you look at the research tab, you will see a description of all of our research groups and of our people, what they are doing, what is our research directions, how do we collaborate with industry is another tab. So I really recommend that you look at that. Okay, there are links for the admission, links about studying, I have just said this. And okay, this is just to warm up, but I see that you have already many questions, 51 I can see. I have talked about the tuition waiver. Eero has already talked about additional scholarships where you get money. The same rules as for computer science apply for software engineering. So there are plenty of different types of scholarships with different amounts of money. We also have special scholarships that are not for all students, like there's this Ministry of Foreign Affairs scholarship, which is targeted at specific countries that are not, I don't know actually how they select them, but they have a special agreement with Estonia, so it's Ukraine, Azerbaijan, I think Georgia, etc. And for those scholarships, only students from these countries can apply, but for most of the scholarships, everybody can apply. Some are really related to your grades, some have other, requirements. And you can apply for that once you're here at the university. Yeah, sometimes we get also, or I get the question also in emails, what GPA do I need to get admitted? And I can tell you that if you have a GPA that is below 70%, you probably have no chance to get admitted. If you have a chance with 80%, GPA is also not clear because we have to look at your motivation letter. And if we think your profile doesn't match the program, then you would also not get admitted. But if you have, let's say, something that is 73, 74%, which would be probably the lower bound, but from your motivation letter, we feel or we think that you are really a very good fit to this program, then we will basically move you up in the ranking. Right? Okay, I think that's it from my side. I will stop. I stop also my sharing, and I think we can move to the question answer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dietmar, for those showcases of the countries represented in the program and what is needed. And right now, I think it's time to start our QA session as we have quite many questions. And you can still write your questions. Please, when you write your question, indicate to which program you want to address this question, so I know to whom address this question when I'm reading it out loud. So the first question is, if I am a bachelor in technology in mechanical engineering, but I work as a software engineer in artificial intelligence role, will I be eligible? And this question is addressed to both program, computer science and software engineering. So maybe Dietmar, you can start answering.
Right. Well, okay, we get these questions. I get these in emails all the time, this kind of question. It's very hard to answer this question without looking at your exact documents and having the full information. But just as a thought, you mentioned, for example, AI. In some way, I would first of all guess that this looks more like, for example, one of the specializations in the computer science program. So that would be something that we will look at, you know, in your motivation letter. What do you say? How do you explain what you want? And what is your true experience? So please do not simply write in your motivation letter, oh, and by the way, I have 2 years experience in software industry in AI. That would simply be not enough for us to judge what that means, right? And so you have to be very specific. And from the software engineering program point of view, mechanical engineering really does not sound for me like you have a proper basic education for software engineering. But again, I can't tell without looking at your transcripts, because you might have taken in your bachelor program actually quite a few computer science related courses. And then that would change the situation. Maybe, I don't know, Anna, if you want to say that there is, the admissions procedure is done in that way that students who provide their documents will be filtered by the admissions office. So that means before your letter and everything that you submit comes to Eero or to me, there will be a filter. And if then the person in the admissions office is not sure whether you are clearly qualified or clearly not qualified or eligible, then they will forward your application to Eero and me, and we make like a preliminary check and then answer back to the admissions office if we think you might, you are or you are not eligible. But of course, as I say, we will then look at what you have submitted. We cannot base a decision on a 5-line email or something like that, right?
Yeah, Dietmar, that's correct, because our applicant is going to receive a feedback. So it's going to be either positive feedback, meaning that everything is fine, and then any other feedback when some of the documents are missing. So yes. Eero, do you have something to add to this question?
Yeah, just to tell that it is looked through case by case, and you should indicate in your motivation letter very clearly what courses you have taken, and also we will be looking at transcripts as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take over next question. I have already completed my motivation letter for software engineering and computer science. I mentioned my project with technology stacks such as Java, JavaScript, PHP, and so on. Is this the correct way or so detailed?
Eero, do you want to go first or shall I?
Yeah, just tell. Yeah. You.
Yeah, maybe just to add on, no, it's definitely not too detailed. It's really good to be detailed on the technical knowledge that you have. And in addition, if you can provide a link to the code repo, that would help a lot. Okay, Eero, sorry.
Yeah, that's the same here. It is really good if you can show some projects that you have been working on, and that we can see what is your actual contribution to those projects, etc.
Right. So if you cannot provide a link to a repo because it's confidential, okay, we know that this can be, and there's probably then nothing you can do about that, but then you can still explain in the letter then you have to characterize it a bit more detailed in the letter, and you have to explain what was your contribution to it, what was challenging about it, and why you think it shows that you are that you have a good basis to do the master's program.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I'm going to proceed to the second question or third question, and it is addressed to computer science. So, Eero, Hello, thank you for this session. The first question, is it okay that I have a job as data scientist right now, but I realize that I need more knowledge in computer science area, and I hope to gain it at the University of Tartu? And should your ideal candidate have a job experience in computer science? This is the first part of the question, so maybe you can answer already.
Yeah, if you have some experience already working in some projects or in data science, for example, then write it very clearly in the motivation letter as well. And usually it is positive.
Yeah, and the second question from the same participant, you have industrial master's program in IT. Is it possible to cooperate in the field of bioinformatics with companies within this program? If yes, could you please name a few companies?
For example, Stuck is one of spin-offs of university, and there are some other companies that I don't know exactly the names, but
CureTech could be mentioned maybe.
Yeah, Cured. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Let's check next question. The next question is addressed to software engineering, so Dietmar. I have done a master's degree in information technology, but I applied for master's in software engineering because I needed to learn more in this field. Hope the previous master's will not affect my application.
Well, it could affect it positively. No, I mean, really, I mean, it doesn't matter. It might even be good depending on what you write and what you tell us. And also, I would still like to know what was your bachelor degree. No, it's not harmful. Right. Okay. That is
all right. The next question, how working in groups changed due to COVID? Maybe Eero, you can take over this.
Yeah, just in some group works, students then collaborate through Skype, through Zoom. Yeah, it's like quite normal. And the actual situation that we are living now.
I think Dietmar, it's the same in software engineering, mostly online.
Well, let's put it that way. Even without COVID, many students have been collaborating online. So in that sense, now it's just that it's more difficult for them to meet in one of our rooms here in the nice Delta building. But of course, also before COVID, students have already collaborated online. I mean, that shouldn't be something super new. I would rather put it the other way around, that because I know that there comes another question later about this distance learning. So we are in principle not a distance learning university, and actually in principle we don't like it. We try to have personal contact and direct contact with the students, but of course not 100%, and that was never like that. I mean, it was always like that you do your homeworks not in the classroom. And of course, we expected you to collaborate with your peers, which of course makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I guess the next question is addressed to Eero. I assume. I would like to have my thesis about cloud fog computing, as I know there is a mobile cloud lab where we can conduct our research. I would like also to experiment part of my thesis. Is there environment for this?
Yes, in fact, we have smart office and smart home. These are laboratories equipped with lots of different IoT devices where students experiment and try out things, programming those and getting them working in collaboration, etc. And of course, there is also this autonomous driving lab where another sort of devices can be used in another settings.
Yes, thank you. The question from the same participant, how many students will be chosen for DORA Plus scholarships for Masters in Computer Science?
I think the order is about 10 to 12 students.
Thank you. So I think it's again a question to Eero, because Eero's presentation was the first one. I wanted to know about Masters in computer science embedded systems specialization?
I think
It's probably for software engineering.
software engineering.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I think I saw this question. It was a bit unclear, but in the embedded system specialization is done in the software engineering program, and as I said before, it's under the leadership and guidance of Taltech. So from our side, we do not really have too much influence on this. And indeed, it would normally probably be better to actually invite Johan Ernitz in the future to these sessions, because he is the person who is shaping that program at Taltech. So they also have, I mean, of course, as I said, so they are concerned with software that is not like web application software or something like that. They are concerned with software that is embedded into some devices. And I know that, for example, Taltech has projects where they collaborate with this Estonian satellite system together with the European Space Agency. And I know that Johan Ernitz himself is having projects with some marine researchers that are investigating, I don't know, vessels, and I do not know exactly what it does software-wise with that, but yes, I mean, they also have, similar to our university, they have an, how do you call it, an innovation hub next to Taltech, where they collaborate with companies, and it's just that I do not have so much information about what exactly they are doing. But I think they just then focus more on companies that really develop embedded systems or embedded software. So the question was relatively general, so it's a bit hard for me to answer more specifically. But I recommend that you, Anna, is there, because I think you should ask this question directly to the program director of this embedded systems specialization, Johan Ernitz. Is there a way that we can, maybe I can provide in my answer the name of the person, but or you can this, because I do not know at the moment where is the question.
Or maybe you can write the name in the chat, so our participant can Google and then find the contacts and basically
okay, I will put it in the chat, not in the question answer, right?
Because I already done it like answering live, so probably you won't be able to answer it. Okay, thank you. Let's proceed then to the next question. Well, the next question is a bit tricky. Are there any chances that the studying will be held offline? Maybe Eero, you can comment on that.
I would say that we try to be mainly teaching students directly in the computer classes at lecture halls. As this is not possible right now, we try to do it online. And some of the things you can do then offline, for example, to listen to lecture. But some supervision of computer classes is done online. So you should try always to have online connection and good connection to be successful here.
Okay, thank you. So we are not going to touch this question anymore. So if there are any, we just will skip them. So the next question, what are the minimum requirements for masters in artificial intelligence, like the percentage research, IELTS, etc.? So here we have a program in software engineering and computer science represented, so we don't offer the program in artificial intelligence. So I'm gonna skip this. The next one, it's gonna be addressed to Dietmar. I'm an international applicant with 11 years of experience in the software engineering roles, but my bachelor's education background is from biology background. Is it mandatory to have technical education or work experience from IT field is considered while assessing the application for masters in computer science?
Yeah, I can probably just repeat what I have said before. Of course, 11 years sounds like pretty much, but again, in principle, you have to explain that what you have done in these 11 years would at least be equivalent to these 24 credit points that you normally would have taken at the university with a systematic education. And it really depends on how you describe what you do at work. If it becomes clear that you have quite many different, or had during the years, different responsibilities that and really point out the technologies you have used, what was your responsibilities in the project, and so on and so on. And then maybe, yes, indeed, it could replace this, or we simply count it then as this 24 ECTS requirement. But I can't answer this, of course, just based on your question. Just make sure that you provide enough information. I would assume that your letter or your application would be one of those that will be sent to me by the admissions office, because they will see that you have a bachelor in biology, which is not sufficient. And they will then ask me to evaluate it, and I will then really look at your documents and decide whether I think you're eligible or not.
Thank you. So the next question from Emin. I have 3 questions. If I'm a last year student, I need to upload documents that I'm studying at the university with the expected graduation date, right? If my transcript is already in English, do I need to notary certify it? What are other relevant documents in Dream Apply? I will take over this question by myself. So basically, if you're applying to one of our programs and you're still studying your bachelor's, so you need to provide us a transcript of your records for all the years that you are studying during your bachelor studies, including the first semester of 2020-2021. So if the transcript in English, then you don't have to certify it, but it should be officially issued to you. So it should have some signature and stamp on it. And regarding the other relevant documents, I would encourage you to join our other webinar with admission specialist, which is going to take place on Friday, where you can directly ask these questions about admission process from admission specialist. And also you can check all the list of required documents on the website of all of our programs. So it is presented on our website. I will proceed to the next question. Most of the applicants usually have a good GPA and work experience. What are some things that I can mention in my motivation letter that might give me an edge? Dietmar, maybe you can give some tip.
Well, first of all, please answer or check all the boxes when you go through the list of what we ask you to write in the motivation letter, because Eero had it on his slide even, but it's also on the web page. So this is, of course, sort of the minimum. But then it depends on how you check the boxes, and that simply depends on how. Let's put it that way. If you participate, I'm now making just a random thing up. It's not that everybody needs to have had a hackathon, but if you participated as a bachelor student in a hackathon organized by ACM worldwide, and you won the first prize in the very end worldwide, then I think this would be a very strong edge. But then I'm sure you would have also top grades in your bachelor certificate, and everything would be fine. So if you don't have that, then if it turns out that you have clear goals on what you want to achieve, you can show us that this study in software engineering will really help you to improve and what you have, for example, been doing in the company that you have been working, and then you have already a clear goal what you do after your studies, how maybe you want to create your own company or whatever. It has to be, of course, it has to be somehow logical, you know. I mean, we try to check the reasonableness of what you want to do, and how does our program really, or will our program really help you to achieve your goal? If we have the impression, no, not really, then you can write what you want and your profile does not really fit, right? So it's very hard to always to generally answer this question because there can be many different things that can give this edge, right? It's also not helpful. There are two things that are not helpful. It's not helpful if you don't tell us anything about what you know about technologies, about tools, etc. But if you just list like 50 programming languages and 50 tools and say, oh, you know all of them, it's also not really helpful. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, you have to tell us a story that makes sense, that is believable, that is maybe even supported by evidence, by showing your code repo so that we understand, aha, that is really what you have been developing, and now you want to learn on top this and this and that. And if we think this is a good story, this makes sense, and really, if you are our students, we can help you achieve your goals, and then we are happy, you are happy, that's what we want. But how we interpret your letter really is a case-by-case thing, right? So just avoid verbose letters with long meandering blah blah on what you dreamt as a child about computer science. We want to know concrete stories, we want to know realistic stories, and we want to see some believable stories, right? Yeah, maybe that helps, I don't know.
Thank you very much for nice tips. The next question. My question is about credits. Is there a requirement such a credit like ECTS before applying? Thanks. Maybe Eero, you can answer this.
No, we do not actually expect you doing the courses beforehand. That's why we have those courses listed. Of course, if you come from different field and computer science or IT, then you have to do the minimum requirements of 24 credits. That is like listed clearly also on our admission guidelines at web page.
Thank you very much. So next question. Since I will only graduate this summer at university in the United Kingdom, for now, do I upload the most recent marks that I have for term 1 plus the ones from year 2 as they form a part of the final mark in the UK? I could tell you, like it's very similar to previous questions, that it would be better if you include all the grades from all of your bachelor studies, so the admission office will have a better overview. So the next question, can electrical and electronic engineering graduates apply for the masters in computer science? Eero?
Yes, again, we will be looking at your transcripts if you have taken enough courses in computer science, especially like algorithmics and programming, then it is okay.
Thank you. Let's see the next question. Thank you for the presentation. Please, can you share the presentation with us? So all our presentations today and the recording from these sessions are going to be shared with you within 3 days after this webinar. So you're going to receive all the information to your email, and you will have also the contacts of program managers from each program that is represented today. The next one is for computer science again. I'm a bachelor in applied math. Am I eligible for a master's in computer science?
Yes, again, if you have taken courses in programming and algorithmics, and it is at least 24 worth credits, then you are eligible.
Thank you very much. The next question, please. Can I have the points for the motivation letter? So I would not stop on this because you can find the requirements, the motivation letters at the program pages, and we're also going to share with you presentations that were shown today. So you will have the website and you can check them out. The next question is second master's is allowed because I already hold the master's in cybersecurity. Am I eligible to apply? Maybe Dietmar, you can take this question.
I guess you are eligible to apply, definitely. The question is probably more: would we accept you as, or would we offer you a place in the study program? If you can clearly explain why you want to do that, maybe yes. I mean, there's no reason why you should not be eligible, obviously. But the question is, of course, will we admit you to the, or will we invite you into the program? Will we rank you high in our list? And that will only happen if in your motivation letter it becomes clear why you want to do this. Why do you want to have the second degree?
Thank you. The next question is to Eero. Are there any particular examples of motivation letter for computer science to examine? I'm worried about the style of the letter and general structure.
I strongly suggest you not to take any examples at all. Just write it out of your own mind, and it will be best way to proceed, actually. And also, of course, then tick all those questions and get them answered. Then it will be more believable than you will try to copy somebody's letter. And even if you do copy paste, you will get actually disqualified because of plagiarism.
Thank you very much. The next one, what is acceptance rate for each of the courses? Maybe Dietmar, you can start.
I think you mean probably program, right? The master's program.
Yes, I think the applicant means program.
As I said, it depends a bit on how you count, but like in software engineering, as I said, we get more than 300 applications for 55 seats, so it's 1 to 6. So 1 out of 6 would get a position.
Yeah, it is approximately the same with computer science. Typically, we have around 300 applications. But of course, right now we have the tuition waivers are differentiated between EU and non-EU applications. And those EU applicants have more chances to get tuition waivers. And in generally, we have less EU applicants than non-EU applicants.
Okay, thank you. The next question to software engineering. Is there such a thing as moving credits from what has been studied at a different university if I have studied a master's level course there?
Okay, of course, in principle, it is possible. It has to be applied for on a case-by-case basis, and it has to be checked whether this credit, whether this course is matching one of our courses. I think in that sense, it could be done. So the general answer is, in principle, it's possible, but it is not like it has to be checked, and there has to be certain criteria have to be fulfilled. Yeah. And it also depends on which category of course. So let's put it that way. For optional courses, it's a bit easier to move credits. And actually, I do not know even the full details of what all the rules are about that, because we have actually I'm mainly in charge of the contents of the program, not so much about all the administrative details. And I would, in that case, consult with Mario Kumla, who knows all the exact rules and how to do that.
Yeah. Thank you. The next question to computer science. My question is, it was mentioned that grades from previous studies yields 50% of the evaluation. Are all the courses taken into account in this case, or only the specialty computer science related ones?
In this case, the GPA is calculated for all the courses, but individually each evaluator of your motivation letter might go in detail also to your motivation, to the transcript, and see what you, for example, got from certain IT course and your specialty choice as well.
Thank you. The next question, can you please tell us about the opportunities we will have after graduation? Is there a placement cell in the university? Also, what is the percentage of EU and non-EU students placed, and what is the average salary? That's a very interesting question. Maybe Dietmar.
I don't know what is a placement cell. What does that mean? I mean, can it be clarified? I have no idea.
Yep.
Or Anna, do you understand what it means?
I mean, like we have, if you mean like that we have a career counseling to help you to find the job, but meaning
this
like
is
if
when
you're,
you sell, you mean like a unit in the university?
I think so. Maybe
yeah, of
it's
course
not.
We have, yeah, maybe then I can answer. Then we do have. Well, first of all, I think we organize so-called career days. We organize sort of fairs with companies where the companies come actually to for example, the Delta building. Okay, this year we did it virtually, but normally we do it on site physically. The companies come and they try to inform students about the opportunities that there are. And I think it's not difficult to apply then to companies. We have then these special programs like Industry Master, where sort of this placement could already happen during the studies. If you get selected, if you apply for and get selected by a company into the Industry Masters program, then usually this is already the entry ticket for that company. So I think, again, I do not believe it's very difficult to indeed find a job. What is sometimes a little bit more difficult is for this internship, because sometimes companies or look for students that know Estonian, because maybe they have documents in Estonian and so on. But in principle, I think we also have ways to overcome this. So indeed, yes, we do have like institutionalized processes where we get in touch with companies and students get a chance to talk to companies and vice versa. So yeah. Then the question about average salary. So that is a bit more difficult because it depends on which country you want to work. And in Estonia, because the salaries, of course, have to be adjusted or are usually adjusted to the cost of living. And this can be very different between Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Germany, France, UK, etc. So if I just give you one number, it might be misleading. So you definitely will earn more than the average salary in Estonia. Whether this means that you earn more than, if you work in Estonia, is more than the average salary in Sweden or Germany, I can't tell. Because also in Germany or Sweden, your housing costs, everything is 2 or 3 times as expensive as here. So in that sense, you can't really compare, but you definitely, I mean, the IT, people working in the IT industry in Estonia are in the top range of income in Estonia. I mean, that's for sure.
Thank you very much. The next one is addressed to computer science. Is taking more courses from Coursera or Udacity in the field of artificial intelligence and ML course from Stanford University can improve my chances of getting accepted to master programs in computer science, specialization in artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it is suggested to mention if you have taken those courses, so that you show that you're really interested in that subject and you have invested your time already there. So why not to mention it?
Yes, there is another question to computer science. Generally, how many applicants apply for each, basically to both of the program, for each master's program? So Eero, how many applicants?
Yeah, usually we have around 300. Some applicants applied to both of those programs here. But yeah, this has been general. I do not know what will be the situation this year because of COVID. Maybe it goes still up, but we don't know. We'll see.
And Dietmar, I think you already mentioned it in your presentation, but
yes, and I think we also answered it already. So I would say it's for us 300 plus for computer science, 300 plus, and indeed, as Eero mentioned, some students apply in both programs, which is of course okay. And you might even see that you might get ranked differently. You might then even get an offer from one program and not from the other, and vice versa, or you get the offer from both, or you get the offer from none. So that's all possible. I would say probably in total it's like 400 to 500 individuals, maybe 500, and that's because some apply in both programs, or even in the third program sometimes. Right. Yeah.
There is next question about the late diploma documents. So I would suggest you to please send this question to our admission office, and then they will answer you. So I will indicate the email just sent to you. The next question, good afternoon. How many students in percent usually decide to continue their education as PhD students? Is it complicated to be enrolled? And what opportunities are there for PhD students, for instance, scientific conferences, summer schools, ads? Maybe Eero, you can start.
Yeah, yes, indeed, we have a PhD program here running as well. And really good MSc students are very welcome to apply there, and it is not very difficult to get PhD position if you're really good and you have supervisor who is really interested in you. So if you're really good in research and want to continue it, it is good to know, and you should try to find interesting subjects for your master thesis as well, ideally something that you can extend to PhD later on as well.
Mm-hmm. What about software engineering?
Yeah, yes, I just continue with what Eero said. Of course, all what he said is also true for us. We even are interested in students, if you come, if you are admitted and maybe already quite high ranked in our evaluation. And we offer also to our students already jobs relatively early on in our research group. If you're really interested in collaborating with PhD students that we currently have and in our research projects, so that you can maybe get a better understanding what does research really mean. And then, of course, finally, after you can only apply for a PhD when you have a master's degree, obviously. So if you then, over time, then as Eero said, then you please should also pick a master thesis topic, which is more like a true research-oriented master thesis, which we also offer, also in our program. And I know that in the research, all of our research groups in both programs, we have these offerings. And then we will see. And then obviously one potential supervisor will probably, you get in touch with our researchers, with our professors, and from that usually there emerge opportunities. And you might be asked if you want to join for a PhD actually. And actually we prefer, of course, having PhD students that we know from our master's programs, because then we can much better judge whether they really can make it in the research community. And of course, once you are a PhD student, you also you will get paid, and you will have the opportunities, of course, to go to conferences once we have real conferences again, because currently all conferences are anyways just virtual. There's no traveling and anything, but that hopefully comes back to some degree at least. And yes, but I think it's nothing you can just say, okay, now you apply for a master's program, and if you want to do research, then try to be from the very beginning research oriented. Try to talk to the professors, to the teachers, ask them if there's some maybe small research project they can do on the side, and then we learn to know you. And yeah, and that is how it usually works.
Uh-huh. Thank you. So the next question is also addressed to you about the embedded software specialization. I have seen that the second year is taught mostly in Tallinn. Does it make sense to plan actually living there in Tallinn than to travel between Tartu and Tallinn?
So actually, probably you're even saying meaning to say that the second semester is taught already mostly, well, almost exclusively in Tallinn. So after the first semester, you have to decide if you go for embedded, then all the courses that you take are typically taken in Tallinn. And indeed, if you know this already from the very beginning, if you're really sure you want to do the embedded specialization, yes, there's no, I would actually recommend to try to live in Tallinn. Then in the first semester, because you have to take the core module courses also in Tartu, there will still be some traveling then the opposite direction than the normal direction. Because maybe that I didn't say that explicitly, more than 90% of the software engineering students actually take the enterprise systems specialization. It's only every year only a handful of students takes the embedded system specialization. That's why we have organized this bus traveling starting from Tartu to Tallinn. But if you are in Tallinn and you have to travel in the first semester to Tartu, then we will not hire a bus for you. You just take public transport and you get refunded your bus ticket or whatever you take, right? So yes, indeed, yeah, the answer would be probably yes. If you're really sure you want to do the embedded systems, then yeah, stay in Tallinn.
Thank you. The next question is going to address to Eero. I have completed my bachelor's in computer science and telecommunication engineering. Do I need any computer science equivalent certificate to apply for master's in computer science?
Yeah, usually we just look at your transcripts from the university, but in case you really have done some certificate, for example, in some related to computer science, we can look at those as well, but officially we first look at the transcripts to count for those 24 credits.
Thank you. Then another question. In addition to my previous question, will knowing English be enough to get jobs, or will we be at any disadvantages if we don't know Estonian? Maybe Dietmar, you can take over this question.
Because I'm the one who doesn't speak Estonian, right? No, okay. So I have a job in Estonia for 8 years and I don't speak Estonian. I am trying hard. It's a very difficult language, and I'm too old. But you're young, by the way, so maybe you should be able even to learn Estonian. If you want to really stay here, I highly recommend it, actually. For me, it's clear that I will not stay the rest of my life in Estonia, so it doesn't really matter for me. But if you want to make your life here, then it helps to know Estonian, and it will be even highly appreciated by companies. It will probably even give you an added value. But of course, Estonia is like all Nordic countries, like Sweden, Finland, and so on. I mean, the whole industry, in particular the IT industry, is of course in English. So in that sense, there is typically not a real disadvantage. It can be sometimes, but that will happen also in other countries that don't have English as the official language. It can be, I lived in Canada for some time, and you know, Canada has two languages, French and English. They are a bilingual country. But if you live in Quebec, where they mainly speak French, companies might want you to know French because their customers are French speaking and they have documents in French. And the same can happen, of course, also in Estonia. That might be a small disadvantage, but it's not the typical situation that you will not get the job just because you don't know Estonian. I think that's very rare.
Thank you. The next question is more admission related. One of the English accept categories is that the student has studies in one of the EU EEA member states and learned English as the first foreign language. How can I prove this with the government document that states the C1, B2 level at the end of secondary school? Actually, to prove it, you will need a certificate from your school where it will be stated that you have learned that English was your first foreign language and you learned it from this time to this time, and it should be an official document. You can also join our webinar with admission specialist and maybe discuss it more, what kind of specific requirements to this document will be. The next question is for software engineering program. So I'm a hybrid business plus IT major. My program included core courses in programming, databases, networking, and BI. I don't have work experience in software engineering, but work in data analytics, so I stand a chance for admission.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. From what you write in your question, it looks like I understand that this means that this is in your bachelor transcripts, that you have taken courses in programming, that you have taken course in databases, that you have course taken networking. What we also would look for is, did you take courses in algorithms? Did you take course maybe something that is more like related to software engineering? So I would have to see your transcripts to give you a definite answer. It looks good that you have taken course on database, but I would have to see how much, because usually we expect 6 ECTS and database courses from the bachelor program. I can tell you that data analytics will not give you an advantage because it has not really anything to do with software engineering, only in case you apply data analytics to improve the software development processes in your company that you have been working. Then it would be even a super big advantage. So that you would have to do, but that is exactly what you have to describe, because I would wonder, based on your question, why do you actually want to study software engineering? And if you can explain this well, and it makes sense to me, and actually I'm not the only one who will evaluate. We have always a team, a small team of professors here in our group who will look jointly at the letters. If it makes sense from your letter that doing the studies will really complement and what you have been working so far and give you a new edge on doing something new and something more interesting and better, then yeah, good, right? But over and over, I have to repeat, like Eero also, I mean, we look at your transcripts and we try to find the minimum set of courses that we expect and that are also described in the admissions criteria. And if you don't find those, then you are already a borderline case, and we have to find reasons why we kind of waive this requirement. And this can only then be in your motivation letter, where you give us good points by how that make us understand why this program would be exactly the right thing for you. Okay.
Thank you. So the next question, can international students apply to other European Union countries after graduation? I think meaning PhD or the second master's. So if this is like that, so then yes, of course. And also for jobs, that's of course possible. So yes, it happens a lot. The question is to Eero. In the motivation letter, should we speak about possible master thesis topic too, like Eero mentioned, for the computer science program? I think it's to Dietmar actually, not to Eero, sorry.
Well, it's probably to both of us because we
or
have
both, yeah,
the same like setup of
yeah.
If you can make it clear that, I mean, it's good to indicate what you would like to do. And if it also makes sense in connection with what you have been doing, let's say you have been working in the past 2 years and the thesis topic would somehow relate to your work experience, yes, why not mentioning it? It makes sense. It gives us an idea that why do you want to study this? It gives us the more complete and more reasonable storyline, so to speak. Yes, do it. What we do not like, though, is that somebody comes out with a random topic. I want to do a master in this and that, and we have no clue why. Where does this come? Given your background, given your life experience, you suddenly want to do a master's thesis in a topic that is completely unrelated to everything you did before. Okay, yes, it might be so, but then again, you have to explain it. We need to understand what you want and why you want what you want.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Can I upload my competition certificate to Dream Apply? I think I can also take over this question. So basically, if you have some additional documents that you would like to show to the commission, you can of course upload them to additional documents, but we are not requiring them. in the admission process. But you should indicate about your competitions in your motivation letter. That would be maybe better. So the next question, 55 seats for international students in both computer science and software engineering. Dietmar?
Maybe that was, I'm not sure, maybe that was a misunderstanding. The 55 seats are no matter what student. And it's in each program, software engineering and computer science has 55 seats. And those seats are open to everybody. Not
110 in total.
National and so on. Yes.
Okay. So the next one, the admission requirement for both programs include courses for programming, but the term is quite ambitious. Is there any way to validate if the course falls under the definition of course of programming? For instance, I had the course pattern recognition, which includes the basic concepts of machine learning, data processing, and so on. Will this course count towards the 24 ECTS of courses in programming required for admission? Maybe Eero, you can start answering this.
Yeah, we would really like to see that you know at least one programming language and are good in it, because it is one of the requirements that you actually can program. And if you have some kind of borderline thing, then you should really explain very well what is your programming skills. If it is not that obvious from the name of the course, but you still did a lot of programming and you know some certain language very well, then you should explain
it. Dietmar.
I will now post this link to where it is described, because it's not true that it just says courses in programming. We actually list them. I just put this link now in the chat window. So we say that you have to have a course on databases. You have, okay, I can maybe read it out. Let me just look it up. There has to be a course in, okay, this is the program, ECTS in information technology, including courses in programming, database technology, and software engineering. So of course, when we say programming, we mean like object-oriented programming. And the main point is that if we want to understand, and we see this usually from the transcripts, at least to some degree, is it a 6? It has to be probably in 6 ECTS at least in one of the higher level, I mean, object-oriented programming languages. But then we also look for courses that are the basic courses in, well, algorithms, data structures. Then database technology is explicitly mentioned. And software engineering is, of course, a wider field, but even that, I mean, maybe you had a software project course in your undergrad program. This is what we are looking for.
Thank you. The next question is going to be addressed to Eero. Are there specific laboratories at the UT in the sphere of computer science, especially in data analysis? And do master students work there?
Yes, we do have some special like laboratories. We have even like something called Sandbox, where there are like companies come with their data, and we have this autonomous driving project, for example, running together with Bolt, and there are a lot of examples where there is data analysis used as well. There are some companies connected to University of Tartu, like STUCK, which is like research-oriented projects towards industry.
Thank you. Another question is again addressed to you. Is there any similar information for the computer science program? In particular, how many people on average apply each year?
Yeah, we have already said that there is about 300 applicants in average, and there is one Taltech has some similar programs as well, but they have a little bit different focus there. Like Taltech is like more technical university, and of course there is, in addition to software engineering, there is cybersecurity curriculum, which is again like run mutually with University of Tartu and Taltech, but that cybersecurity is managed by Taltech.
All right, thank you. And the next question, we already also covered it during the presentation about the statistics, intakes, waivers, and applications. So we're not gonna stop again on this question. You're gonna get the presentation, so you will be able to check it out. Another question, just curious, are there any thoughts or plans to introduce masters by research instead of only masters by coursework in UT?
We can say that part of the studies is like through research, but we are not going to do some separate program. If you really want to go to real research program, you have to apply them to PhD program already. But you can start with the research in master's level, as we discussed already previously.
Thank you. And then the next question, different part of the world has different grading systems. So what is the normalizing procedure? Well, I can take over this question. So basically our admission office is transferring your grades into the percentages basically, and then the grades from different countries are basically the same. So they have some certain procedure to do this. But you can also calculate the percentage of your grade by yourself from the highest one. So the next question, does the university provide the accommodation options, free ones? I can also take over this question. So we do provide accommodation options. We have quite many dormitories, and we don't offer free ones. And the price for one place in accommodation costs from 100 to 150 euros, depending on the season. Hello, have some questions. The first one, please explain the credit system in all specialities. For instance, is it possible to take 40 credits in the first year and the rest of the credits in the next semester? Is it possible to take double degree? Will the study take place online in 2 specialities? So, Dietmar, maybe you would like to start answering.
Well, the first question about these 40 credits. So the normal workload per semester is, as you probably know, 30 credit points. And if you manage to do 40, okay, congratulations. The courses are quite tough, at least I think in the core modules. So if you can do more, then you must be a very good student. And technically speaking, this order is okay, that you first do 40 and then 20. The other way around, I think you could run into problems because I do not know the exact criteria. Again, that would be for Maria Kungler to answer the details of that. And it's also described somewhere probably on the university web pages. You have to be a full-time student to not lose the status, in particular if you have a tuition waiver. That means you have to fulfill a minimum of credits per semester and per year and so on. And I know that, for example, after the first year, you must have successfully completed, I think, 54 of the 60 credit points to continue being a full-time student. Is that correct, or is it 45? I always forget.
It is actually, to stay as full-time student, you have to take at least half of the. To stay as a student, you have to take 15 per semester. To be full-time student, 45 after the first.
It's only 45, so 54 is for the tuition waiver then.
To keep tuition waiver, you can be in short of 6 credits each semester. It means
okay,
30
right.
minus
So it's not good if you have too little credits, but if you have more than what is required, what should be wrong with that? Double degree, That is a good question. I think theoretically it's possible. But Eero, do you know the detail? Because I know that we had students that took math and, for example, math and software engineering. So I think theoretically it's possible, right?
Yes, theoretically it's possible for very capable students and very experienced learners. But this is not the normal way usually. You just do it one degree. There are some special programs, of course, like where you get double degree. I think, isn't it software engineering? You get actually graduation from University of Tartu and Taltech simultaneously, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's of course the question. I didn't mean that with double degree, but that is, you do one program and you get a degree in both universities for the same workload. That is only true for software engineering because it's split. I mean, it's a 2-university program. It's not true for computer science. But anyways, I wouldn't call this a double degree. It just means that you really get your degree, a degree certificate from both universities. And yeah, maybe that is what the last question is about. It's only for software engineering. Yeah. And then it doesn't matter which specialization you take within software engineering, because software engineering itself is not a specialty. It's a program. So the third question is a bit confusing also to me. If you talk about computer science, it's only you get a degree in computer science from the University of Tartu if you succeed. If you do software engineering, you get a degree from University of Tartu and Taltech. And it doesn't matter which specialization, whether you take enterprise systems or embedded system specialization. It doesn't matter. For both, you would get always a certificate from both universities. Because you have to at least take 20 credits from the whole program from either of the 2 universities. That's a minor technicality, which is not difficult to fulfill. And that's why you get a degree from both universities for exactly the same work. You just do it in both universities partly.
Right. Thank you. The next question, I have just 64% in bachelor's. Should I apply or not? Maybe Eero, you can comment.
Yeah, especially if you come from EU countries, I would suggest you applying because there are higher chances. If you come from very good university from outside, that is top-ranked university, and 64 is maybe just enough, but if you have applying from somewhere unknown that not so highly ranked, yeah, probably the chances will be less. Yeah, it's difficult to say. Yeah, depends on the motivation letter as well, of course.
Purely arithmetically, you could argue if you get 100% in your motivation letter and then plus 64, that's 164 divided by 2 is 82, because everything counts 50%. Then you would say 82 looks like it's above the 73, 75, which is the minimum probably in most cases. That depends, of course, it can change every year a bit depending on how the quality of the applications. But it really means that you have a super excellent motivation letter and we really want you no matter what. And that can be. Right.
Okay, thank you. Then another question about motivation letter. Can I put the link to my portfolio in the motivation letter? Eero.
Yes, is the answer. Yeah.
It might as well. Yeah.
Yeah, answer, because also you would probably only put links to your code repos also. Yes, links are okay. Mm-hmm. It should just be easy and we just click on them and then we see what you want us to see. Hopefully, shouldn't be a broken link. You know. Okay.
The next question is a bit not understandable, including EU and non-EU member countries. Could you please specify what you meant, and we will answer that. Do you have any criteria that we only select 1 or 2 students from one country, or a purely merit-based selection is, as I'm from Pakistan? Dietmar, maybe you can comment.
But I think Eero will probably say the same. There's no distinction. we really just look at the application, and of course some other student or some other potential applicant asked about the GPA, and indeed, I mean, we know that certain how to call it, certain systems, university systems, there it's extremely hard to get, let's say, a GPA of 100%, or it's almost practically impossible. Nobody ever gets it. This will, of course, be considered in some way. We do some small adjustments to the GPA so that they become hopefully comparable. But that is, I think, already partly done in the admissions office. But that's, yes, that's how it is. I mean, and in the end, we look at the person and at the application, and we don't care if the person is from Pakistan or from whatever country.
Thank you. I just would like to remind you that we have 4 minutes left, so we will take a few more questions, and then unfortunately we will end our info session. So the next question that we will take will be, could the mention of social activity in motivation letter affect the assessment? Eero, maybe you can comment.
Yeah, if you have been really active student, like doing some extra curriculum work, and we see really that you are socially active and would contribute towards student life, for example, here in Tartu as well, then this is something that will open in a better way your personality, and we would like to have good and active students. Why not?
And our last question for today will be to software engineering. So again, embedded system. I'm pursuing a 3-year bachelor degree from India, and I'm interested in embedded systems. Please share some information about job markets related to embedded systems in Estonia and outside Estonia.
Well, probably I know this market better outside Estonia, because it depends a bit on the industry in the different countries. Just to give, and in Europe, if you maybe want me to answer for Europe, Sweden and Germany have quite many well-known, internationally well-known companies that build systems, high technology systems, like transportation systems, like automotive industry. Sweden has a very strong aerospace industry. Then there's Airbus. It's usually done in larger companies, but there are also small specialized companies. And I know that there are a few companies in Tallinn that actually work in the European market. They develop tools for embedded systems development. And I know that Johan Ernitz, the program director from Taltech, he has contacts with them. So there is an opportunity, of course. I mean, actually, I think since the majority of the students is actually taking the enterprise specialization, at least when they study in our program, if you're a good student in embedded systems, I believe you have actually excellent job, market possibilities. At least in Europe. For Estonia, of course, the market is much smaller, so maybe they don't need so many people. But in the rest of Europe, I'm sure that there's enough opportunity. Maybe even already in Finland, I don't know. But in Sweden, definitely.
Thank you very much for your answer. And I guess it's time to finish our webinar. It was really nice to have you, and you have so many questions. We were trying our best to answer most of them. We apologize if we didn't answer some questions because of time limitations, but we will definitely send you the recording of this webinar. We will forward you the presentation, so you will get the contacts of Tietmar and Eero, so you will be able to ask your questions from them directly. And thank you for being with us today, and hope to see you next academic year at the University of Tartu.